In a recent video, I showed you just how easy it is to mix up your paint powder and your latex paint to get your paint for chalk painting. So we've got our paint for chalk painting here, and the great thing about this versus the regular latex paint, if I was just going to use regular latex paint, I'd probably need to prime, I'd need to prep this table with sanding it and then some primer. But because I mixed it with the Poppies, it's just going to adhere to this table that's already was painted before, it was distressed, it's got some chips on it, and I just want to change up the colors. So all I've done to it is just cleaned it with a mild cleaner, or you can use just some soap and water and get all of that off, and it's ready to paint. So the paint I'm going to use here today is a brand from Ace called Clark's in Kensington, and it's called Lime Zest. So we're going to do a nice pretty green spring color here. And the paintbrush I'm just using a cheap chip brush for this. I do have some favorite brushes as well that if you go to my website you'll be able to see those on my favorite things, part of the Paint So Pretty. Now this first coat is not going to cover completely, especially because we've got some pretty dark contrast under this table of the dark brown, but that's okay. It will take you 2 coats. And this first coat, we're just going to want to do a good base coat to it, just get a real even coat on there. And the other great thing by adding this Poppies powder to your latex paint is that it's going to dry pretty quick, so you're going to be able to do your second coat fairly soon. I would say give it a good half hour and it'll be ready to do your second coat. But again, this is a table that is really dark under it. So if you were to do a table that the colors were a little more similar, or if I had a really dark color here, it wouldn't be bleeding through as much. But because I've got such a dark color under this, but you can see how it's completely adhering to that. And if this was a table I wanted to distress, I don't do a lot of distressing, but this paint mixed with the Poppies will distress really easily too. So that's the difference with using the paint that's for chalk painting versus regular latex paint. It's got that chalky texture to it that'll have a real matte finish but adhere to anything. But you're also going to have to seal that, and we'll talk about that in another video on the best ways to seal. So this isn't your final step. You're going to do 2 coats of the paint and then a sealer. But for now, we're going to let that one dry, and we'll come down here and do the same things on the legs. And as you can see, it's covering that pale yellow a little bit better here, but we're still going to have to do the 2 coats to it just to make sure it really gets covered well. And these chip brushes are great because they're cheap and disposable. They don't cover as well as some of the pricier ones that I now use because I do a lot of painting. But if you're just doing a few pieces, this is the best thing to use. They're just the chip brushes. So I'm going to work on getting the whole first coat on, and then we'll come back for the second coat and sealing it.